Have you ever been on a family holiday and made friends with another family? Well, how do you know that the other family is trustworthy? That's what 2022's Speak No Evil boils down to, which is the subject of today's Nightmare Fuel episode. There will be major spoilers ahead, as well as psychologically disturbing adult themes, which for reasons that will become apparent mean that I won't be able to display a lot of the grisly details on screen. So you have been warned. To kick off proceedings, let's talk about the film's setup for the damaging path ahead. We are faced with two families, one Danish and one Dutch. The Danish family is made up of Bjorn and Louise and their daughter Agnes. The Dutch family is Patrick and Karen and their son Abel. The two families meet each other while on holiday in Tuscany and each have that typical slightly forced positivity from each side muddled together with a pinch of awkwardness which occurs when trying to be overtly friendly and keeping up appearances of being a happy family. Generally, they all hit it off with each other, with the exception of Abel, who is immensely quiet. We are told by Patrick and Karen that Abel has a condition wherein he was born without a tongue, named congenital aglossia. In Tuscany, they all have such a good time that a couple of weeks later, Bjorn and Louise receive an invitation to spend some time with them back in the Netherlands at their isolated home. You get some very quiet alarm bells here, just loud enough to be detectable, because you could argue the case of stranger danger here being a reason why you'd hesitate effectively going on holiday with people you've only just met, especially when it means going to their house. But Speak No Evil does a great job at deflecting those concerns in that it's not two individuals, it's two families. Say something like Barbarian, for example, where Tess meets Keith. There's a distinct tension there gained from it being a one-to-one encounter. In Speak No Evil, however, both parties are couples with young kids, something which reflects unity, solidity, and most importantly, a loving bond. Your mind is almost put to rest in a kinda strength in numbers way. Surely these people are good-willing and wouldn't do anything to harm us because they themselves have a family, so they know the importance of trust. It's only after Bjorn, Louise, and Agnes arrive, who I'll now refer to as the Danes, where things start to stand out to them in relation to the behaviour of Patrick, Karen, and Abel, who I'll refer to as the Dutch. The Danes have a naivety about them, particularly Bjorn, when it comes to blindly jumping into this newfound friendship with the Dutch, but it's a naivety that supports their innocence and gentle nature as people. So when the Dutch begin to act off kilter, it makes the Danes uncomfortable in their stay. For the first hour of the film, it's an extremely slow burner, an intentional choice which gradually pays off by breaking the Nightmare Fuel gauge, but that pacing is measured finely here to reach an impactful result. Initially, it's Louise who begins to be put off by the way the Dutch present themselves. She is a strict vegetarian, which the Dutch neglect and make Louise feel like she's being ignored. On top of this, Patrick and Karen have a passive-aggressive nature to them, from the way they interact with one another, to Karen swearing a lot, to being rather abusive towards Abel. Something doesn't feel right here. Patrick and Karen as parents are a yin to the yang of Bjorn and Louise. The Danes are generally a lot more affectionate and kind, with a sense of sentimentality between them all, such as Agnes owning a cuddly bunny, which is an important symbol within that family unit. The Dutch, however, feel a little colder, not aided by the fact Abel can't talk to express himself, so it's Patrick and Karen who are the mouthpieces, and as far as mouthpieces go, they are often abrasive. As the stay at the Dutch home continues, more and more significant thorns are pushed into the crown that niggles away at the Danes. Stuff like the kids being left at home with the Dutch family's babysitter, which in itself is enough to make Louise feel anxious. They've been left at home under the babysitter's supervision so that the parents can go out for a meal together as couples without the kids about, and normally that would be fine with a babysitter you can trust, yet here only one party trusts them. While at the dinner, the Dutch completely burst that bubble of of comfort that the families resided in when they first met. They yet again attack Louise's vegetarianism. They passionately kiss in front of the Danes. They twist the arm of Bjorn into paying the bill, and then they drink drive back to the house while playing loud music. It's an aggressive and dangerous lifestyle where Patrick and Karen express themselves in volatile ways, which they each consider exciting, the complete contrast to the vanilla aura possessed by the Danes. The entire relationship between the families is a powder keg primed and ready to erupt, and the moment which triggers it comes when Agnes winds up sleeping in the same bed as a naked Patrick, due to her parents being unresponsive when she wants to sleep with them, with Agnes herself not being comfortable staying in the same room as Abel. Even the kids have a jagged contrast in this film, not being able to connect with each other. It's at the discovery of finding Agnes lying with Patrick where Louise flips and the family abandon the Dutch without a goodbye. However, Agnes left her cuddly bunny at the house and Bjorn turns around to collect it. This to me demonstrates the cohesion the Danes have. An outsider would just go, it's only a toy, he'll get another one. But because that toy means so much to Agnes, it means so much to Bjorn and Louise, further highlighting the link between them all as a unit. If anything, it's the Dutch who don't feel linked, and that's when the soul-shredding twist of the film occurs. Arriving back at the house, Bjorn has a wander around, eventually coming across a room full of pinned up photographs of Patrick and Karen standing next to countless other families, yet they aren't standing with Abel. In each photo, they stand with a different child, and it's when Bjorn scans across and analyzes the photos, he sees that the child changes every time. But it's a child who stood with another family in another photo. Talking about this film's third act isn't going to be easy, so I want to provide another warning regarding the disturbing themes ahead. The film's climax involves Bjorn's discovery of the photos, which indicates that Patrick and Karen meet with families, abduct the children as their own, and assumedly kill the parents, then repeat the cycle. Bjorn leaves the room and finds Abel's body drowned in the swimming pool. That sight was tough to look at, as throughout the film, Abel has been such a quiet and harmless boy, yet suffers nothing but abuse. During a scene where he and Agnes dance for the parents, obviously just trying to have some fun and entertain themselves, Patrick takes it super seriously and winds up gripping Abel aggressively and reduces him to tears. It was an emotional spike to the gut seeing the child being treated this way, but to see his body floating on top of the pool took that to the next level. The Danes gather together, but Bjorn doesn't tell them about Abel. They try to escape, but their car breaks down and are picked up by the Dutch. And in a sight that'll be permanently ingrained into my memory, they sever the tongue of Agnes. That right there was mortifying to endure, and I couldn't help but turn away from the film, something that I very rarely do. I just didn't want to witness this, not just because of the gruesome nature, but because of the implication. Abel never had a condition relating to not being born with a tongue. His tongue was taken from him by force, meaning he literally could speak no evil. He was silenced by Patrick and Karen so that he could never explain the situation to the next family. But the tragic and nightmarish element here is that Abel wasn't the only one. There is an immeasurable number of children who have previously endured the exact same nightmare, and now it's happening to Agnes. When it comes to the fate of Bjorn and Louise, they not only have seen their beloved daughter tarnished and taken from them, but they are forced to strip naked before being stoned to death. There was a real authenticity about how this scene was put together, a raw brutality to it that reminded me of the sacrifice scene in Midsommar. Just dusty rocks in the open being used for nefarious purposes. The family has been through hell and didn't survive, but their final moments were in the knowledge that their daughter has been mutilated and was going to be used as as a tool for making this happen to other people, which we see in the film's final moments with Patrick and Karen heading to scout out a new target. Speak No Evil sickened me when trying to endure it, the same kind of sickness as I've experienced with a Serbian film, though massively toned down from the nature of that film. This doesn't compare really, but it's that kind of film that exploits kids when presenting its horror in a startlingly realistic manner, which hits me harder than any other form of horror. I don't mean like Pennywise picking kids off, I can deal with that. I mean actual abductions followed by horrendous acts, and an entire history of it too. Speak No Evil spent its time using its first two acts building up the foundations until the third act provided a wrecking ball to shatter the hope of humanity. The film's themes are something which sadly are experienced in the world. Somewhere out there right now, this kind of thing will probably be occurring, and that scares me more than any fictional form of nightmare fuel. What did you lot think of Speak No Evil? Let me know in the comments below. I've been Connor from Unleash the Ghouls, and thank you for watching. Cheers.